Welcome to the Builders Podcast, episode 102. Jennifer Denney, Employees and Revenue, Agency Growth, and the Happy Metric. Before we jump into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube, and after a listen, please give us a thumbs up, like, and share, if we've earned it. With your help, we can reach more people and deliver these valuable from the trenches lessons to those that need it. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another The Builders. We are joined again by Jennifer Denney. Welcome back to the show for your third time.
I know, it's amazing. I've been here 3 times, but apparently we like to hang out.
Yeah. Well, we almost didn't start the podcast recording. We were just talking before this. We should have been recording that whole conversation.
We're just talkers. It's fine. It's all fine.
It's fine. Yeah. So the good news is we will not run out of things to talk about today. So
Never.
Never. So yeah, so it's great to have you back. If anyone's tuning in, the last episodes you were on were episode 44, and then before that, episode 20, which is the real early one. So yeah, we talked about
early bird person.
The first one, we got to know you, talked about virtual teams, building a business. The second one was episode 44 was about end of the year business reviews and planning.
Yeah,
exciting stuff.
Yeah, that's stuff that I don't really like. I mean, I do it, but we talked about it. I'm not a big fan of. Here we are again at the beginning of the year. I'm not a big fan of. This is the only time of year that I plan. I'm always planning.
Right.
Always.
Yeah.
Things are changing so fast. You have to be always planning.
Yeah, it's a good episode. Go check it out. But today we're going to talk about, I got a couple bullets here, but there was one specific reason we decided to get on this call or this podcast that Jennifer completely forgot about.
Randomness.
So it was a post that I made on LinkedIn, and it was about basically, I don't remember. Actually, I'd have to dig back in our archives. I don't remember specifically what it was, but I knew what it was about. So it was about basically the fact that when I hire somebody, when my employees or even contractors, obviously contractors, I try to tie them to revenue, which means simply that I need to be able to identify a contract that covers this person, monetarily, monthly, or whatever, or they're generating. They have the potential to generate, and might give them a time frame to generate sales or whatever, to contribute in some defined way. And Jennifer had a response to it that was kind of like. I don't know if it was skeptical, but it was something like that she didn't think about it that way or something.
I think I remember now. I think it's a careful line, and I think you can go too far in just tying somebody to a number and not looking at them as a person.
Oh,
yes. I understand from a business perspective that you have to be generating revenue with somebody that you have working for you. But I've been in these environments before where you were looked at as nothing but a number. And I think that's where business owners sometimes get too far down that rabbit hole, and they forget that it is their job. You hired them. So you either made a bad call and you need to move on quickly, or you need to work on getting them where they need to go because you took on that responsibility. Now, that's how I handle it. If I've got somebody that is willing to learn and is willing to put it out there, then it's my responsibility now to get them to a place that it's going to be generating revenue. That's my bad.
That's okay. That makes more sense. That makes more sense. Yeah, it's not that you shouldn't. Now, so for me, I'm not number one, I'm not a micromanager. I'm not a micromanager of time either.
Yeah.
Or like when I say that, and now it's not always posts on social media isn't always the best format for some topics because you have this little short snippet of something and you can't, no one's there to ask you the details.
Exactly.
But but my thought process there is it's more of a rough estimate. Like I feel like, okay, when I hire somebody, they might already have a purpose. They're coming in for a particular client. Like I have somebody that's dedicated to a particular client,
Right.
and that's a no-brainer. But it's also that I look at their role and I see that they are generally contributing or going to help us contribute to growing the business
Right.
or
Right.
yeah, and taking care of a particular client and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So it's more of like a general feel. Like I'm not just I kind of used this recently with somebody. I'm like, I'm not going to hire you just to sweep the floors. I can,
Yeah.
they can be dirty. They don't.
Yeah.
I'm not making money from the floors though. So, and here's where I learned that. Actually, I worked for a company called Rapid Crush a number of years ago before I did the agency. I was their web developer for 4 years, a year on contract, 3 years as employee.
Yeah.
And a couple years in, there was all of a sudden this like change of kind of attitude towards things.
Mm-hmm.
There was a sudden like, and something happened in the company where all of a sudden somebody was like, we need to make sure that everybody here is tied to revenue.
Yeah.
And contributing to revenue in some way. Cause I think things got out of control.
Yeah.
And it was the same with tools.
Oh,
We need
gosh.
to take an inventory of all the tools we have and what we're paying for services.
Yeah.
So that stuck with me, and I think that has helped me a lot in my own agency.
Yep.
Is always reviewing those things.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly cannot run a great business that is not profitable, and you have to know your numbers. And so we actually do track time, and that time is associated with clients and how much time we have available for each individual clients. And I actually was just looking at that before we got on this call, was like, okay, was that client profitable or was that client not profitable? Because we have to monitor that but that's my job, as the business owner. And we talk about it, amongst the team and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's kind of my responsibility, and I don't want to treat them too far down the rabbit hole where they are just, a number. Um, yes, you have to definitely know your numbers.
Yeah. Is that something you review? Like you talk about reviewing things
Monthly.
throughout the year? You're like,
I
monthly?
try to look at that monthly and just try to look at, we have like a retainer type base. And so we're not selling hours over here necessarily. Right. We believe digital marketing takes a lot of different things. And so instead of selling these like set like packages, this is exactly what you're going to get. We're selling strategy and implementation, and we're deciding what we need to do together with our clients on a monthly basis. And we have to balance that with, not doing too much work or too little work. We've got to do both, and we've got to get results at the same time. And that's a hard thing to do. And so you have to really know your numbers. It's way harder than, people that are selling packages. But what happens in that scenario is they got sold a package. You got exactly what you paid for, but did you actually get results? Probably not, because you got sold something. So it's a difference of opinion on, I'm not looking to scale into this like large digital marketing agency because I honestly don't believe this is really scalable. I don't think you can scale it into a large organization because everybody's different. And I have theories there too.
So you don't have these predefined packages for that, just everybody gets. Like we're gonna do X number of things each month and hope for the best.
Nope.
You sit down with each individual business, company,
Yep.
and go through everything with them and create a strategy for them,
Yep.
and then implement on that.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's different than what I typically see out there, but it's about producing results, and that's why we don't have long-term contracts either. I'm very
Yeah.
confident in what we're doing. That if we're not producing results, I expect to be fired. Bottom line,
I would hope. Yeah, you probably would be.
we're providing value
Or
or we're
somebody's
not.
not paying attention on the other end.
Right. Right. So
Yeah, yeah. No, it's yeah, that's interesting. I think of it, like we have packages, but they're like package services, but they're more there's room within those to
yeah.
adapt it to that particular client.
Yeah.
And we're web design development, obviously, do a lot of maintenance.
That's a little
And
different. Like web design is, I feel like, completely different, and you can kind of maybe create packages, and this is included and that's not included. We're more on the marketing side, and when
yeah,
you're doing marketing, you have to be very fluid with what you're doing and what's working and what's not working. And so that's why the model is a little bit different. I think web development, it's okay to have these like exact packages.
yeah, I guess it's more the outcome is more defined
Yeah.
and consistent
Yes.
for
Yes.
sure.
I'm producing a website. It's going to have this
Yeah,
many pages. It's going to have this,
right.
this.
Yeah,
That is a lot easier. But you
yeah.
start getting into marketing, and the job of the marketer is to assist in a sales, for sales, or sometimes
Mm,
it is the actual sale, like in an e-commerce situation. So you have to kind of define those different situations.
yeah. And it's still even with like our larger maintenance contracts, and we're getting back to kind of how you're tracking all that. Um, as a recent example, like we've had somebody on contract for probably a year and a half or more, and the package is designed again to give us plenty of elbow room to do what we need to do each month. And from their perspective, we're over delivering. We're doing a lot of we provide a lot of value to what their needs are,
Hmm.
beyond just not just plugin updates, but we do design work for them in there. We do build features. We
Right.
fix stuff, whatever, implement things. So we do a lot, but there is a point where and some of it's just feel like, oh, this is fine. I got a
Yeah.
dedicated maintenance person on there, but recently we've scaled up. I added actually a project manager,
Awesome.
and now she's doing stuff with them directly on one hand, dealing with one person, one place, but we're also doing other stuff for them. So there's like multiple things going on. And I started to realize we're doing a lot more than we were. Like we're actually doing maybe. So now I've had to I actually need to figure out within my systems how to like actually track that a little bit more. Just because it's like I got it. We have enough in there, but there is a point. I always, when in these packages, I'll include a number of hours, right?
Yeah.
And I always communicate it like it's a soft limit. If we go to a couple hours over, it's
Yeah.
fine,
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So,
But it's something to speak to if all of a sudden you're doing twice as much,
right, right, exactly. Well, that is my point in time tracking. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to get down to the nitty gritty that I spent 5 minutes on this particular project and this particular task. I'm literally just keeping track, as a whole on a client. And when you're doing that and you've got multiple team members, then each of those team members you can kind of see as a whole. did we spend too much time? Because one person might be spending too much time. And then I'm actually trying to look at, okay, how much time does this person need? So I might actually tell, one of the people that work for me, hey, we're kind of on a 5 hour budget, for you. Here are the things we need to work on. And they need to kind of manage their time so they can get it through there, or come back to me and be like, that I can't get all that done.
Yeah.
So it becomes a conversation, but I'm not trying to get down to this particular task, which I've seen this, and I'm like, man, y'all psychopaths. Like, like that's
Well, you have to have somebody like literally dedicated to that. I do have an agency partner that has like a project manager that is on top of every single task and subtask
yeah,
and tracking all the hours and following up on, like, and it's a lot more. It's a larger agency, and there's probably they have to do that on scale.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
probably.
but if you, yeah, yeah. I mean, so every agency is a little bit different in what they
Yeah,
do and
I have
stuff.
no
But
desire again to be a large agency, so I'll never have to get to that level, and that drives me nuts on all that stuff. I'm like, man,
that's actually a nice segue into something else I kind of want to chat with you a little bit about is kind of that growth and where what that's looked like for you in terms of, like, for me, like, my goal has always been more of a boutique agency,
mm,
like, not having 1,000 clients or a
yeah,
1,000 person team, and have to manage all that and manage managers that are managing managers. Um, you know, that hasn't been the dream. It's been, um, I have kind of these numbers in my head how large I want to get.
yeah,
I have I'm kind of, but in phases too. Like right now, I feel like I'm capping myself a little bit. I just hired. I'm going to bring in my seventh full time person
awesome,
this next week, but more to help with marketing side of
yeah,
things out in the agency. But so I got a number of developers. But I'm at this point where, like, this is like getting a little crazy for me. I'm doing a lot more project management and managing a team, and unless I hire somebody like me to somebody that could help me oversee certain things. It's helped a little. I've got, like I said, I got that project manager, and that was a role I had to create this year, figuring
mm-hmm,
out how I could scale a little bit more and have
yeah,
she handles a couple accounts and
yeah,
but for me, but still, it's like, okay, I'm here. I could see us growing a little bit more, and maybe it's down the road maybe, but it's also hard to um, say no to things
oh, you
too.
gotta say no.
Like when you're scaling up.
you
What did you say?
you gotta say no if it's not the right fit.
Well, if it's not, but some things are the right fit, and you're like, um, but the way I kind of combat that is I do leverage pricing to combat that a little bit. And if we do get somebody, it's going to,
I
like,
think
I've raised my prices over time.
yeah.
Or you have to just say we can do that in 3 months.
I think the most important like metric in this, and it's not even a metric, so I don't know why I'm throwing it as a metric, is are you happy?
Are you
Are
happy?
you happy with what you're doing? So if you're getting to a point where it's just not fun anymore, and it's like you're having to take on roles that you don't want to take on, either you keep growing and you get rid of those roles and make sure that you get to be back to where you're happy. I think that's what is the most important to kind of recognize
Hmm.
is what makes you happy as a business owner. And so you can be at different levels, and I've gone through that too in the last year. Is I was doing a lot of building last year. I was adding a lot of different people, and what I was finding out, at least last year, is it was not making me any happier. It's not making me
Hmm.
any more money. It's just adding more people to manage and more stuff. and it really got me away from things that I really like to do. So it's time to go back to the drawing board and kind of look at it and just be like, well, maybe that's not where I want to go because it's not making me happy.
That's a really nice way to think about it. Yeah.
There's a 50 million
It's
ways to build a business. There is
yeah.
so many ways. There's not a right or wrong way to build a business. You are a business owner. You're doing it well. So, but is it what you want?
Hmm.
Because it's yours. That's why you get into business ownership, because you get to build what you want. So take everybody
True.
else's advice, like listen to different ways, but that doesn't mean it has to be how you actually do it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that. I love listening to other people and getting ideas, but it's got to be my way. Like it's got to be what I formed.
Yeah, and it's very easy to because a lot of people have opinions about how you should be running your business, and
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of business people like, why aren't you doing that? This is what you should be doing,
Yeah,
or
yeah. And I'm like, well,
growing. Yeah, do this to grow faster. You should be, you can do. Yeah,
is is there a
but
pot at the end of, this gold pot at the end of the rainbow? No, not necessarily, not for everybody. If
yeah,
if growing really large is going to make you happy, then yeah, you have to go about it differently. But if growing is not your happy, think about different things that you can do to make yourself happy. You got to figure out that happy part though.
yeah. And it's also for me, it's about I talk about controlled growth. Kind of the slow growth.
Yeah.
Patience.
Yeah.
I did recently have a conversation with somebody on and off a podcast about talking about my agency and he's like, this is where you could be in a year, like multi-million. Like I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to lose complete control over what's going on right now. I'm not a control freak, but I like you said, it's kind of, this is my thing. I like the pace I'm at. He was fine. He's like, if you like the pace you're at,
Yeah.
great. Um, then what I'm talking about is not for you.
So good.
But it's growing by, like last year we grew like by 40%, right?
Awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
If I could do 50% this year, great.
Yeah.
And that actually scales.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually that does actually, the percentages get bigger and bigger. But and I've been happy with that idea, but I care about retaining what I have, what I built.
Mm-hmm.
I want, like, it's a win for me if I'm growing and my current client base doesn't know. They don't feel that.
Yeah. Yeah, the growing
I've
pains.
had,
So if you grow too fast, then you will have those growing pains and things start not working correctly because you didn't have the like basics down,
yeah, you gotta,
processes.
yeah. I mean, and I had a conversation with one of my longer term clients a couple months ago, and on that very thing, and he always, we get on a call. He's like, "How is it going?" I'm like, "Growing," and but I said, but it's really important to me that we continue to take care of you, and you don't feel that, like, and he even came back. He's got some experience in business, and he's like, that's a problem a lot of agencies have.
Yeah.
They grow too fast, they lose control, and then the relationship suffers, and
Yeah.
a lot of problems arise from that. And that's something I'm trying to avoid. And and you said something about growth. In terms of size, it's size of revenue doesn't always equate either to your profit or
Oh
or
yeah.
your happiness,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah. You can see some really large companies and have lots and lots of employees and their profit margin sucks. Like
Yeah.
it's like not even worth it. So it's like, did it make you happy to have all these people?
Yeah, right.
Like,
Yeah.
and you see that a lot with marketing agencies actually. the more you scale, the less profitable it actually tends to be. I've heard that over and over, and it's just like a light bulb in my head that I have more control when it's smaller. I have more freedom to kind of do what I want. I actually had a conversation with a guy that had 150 employees, and I
Whoa.
was coming over on my side and a little bit feeling like a little jealous, like, oh man, like, he grew so fast. And he's like, no, I'm jealous of you. You have this freedom to be able to move quickly with all the new things that come out. I can't do that with 150 people. When we have this many people, it's harder to make change. And in our industry, that's one thing that you can count on is change.
Right, right.
And, we talked about it before the show with like AI, and it's going to constantly change. So I'm again thinking a smaller agency is actually beneficial in this environment where things are going to be constantly changing because I,
You're
I
more
can move.
agile.
Yep, I'm
Yeah,
very
yeah,
agile. I can move quickly.
yeah. That's good. Um, so what I'm reading a book. I was just looking at, I don't remember the name of the book. There's a there's a I've actually read, this is the second book I've read by him, Mike Kalowitz.
Okay.
He wrote Profit First. Have you heard of
Okay.
that?
Yep. I've heard of it. I've never read it, but I know that I didn't know the whole
Okay.
mentality. Yep.
Okay. So it was actually recommended to me by one of my other agency partners. He was implementing it in his agency, and he loved it, um, and I've started to implement it in my agency. I
Yep.
kind of already had that mindset. I do. You know,
Yep.
to be happy, I do want to make sure I have some profit as I grow. That's part of the reason
Yeah.
I don't want to grow too fast. But there's another book that I just finished called "Fix This Next" by the same author,
I haven't heard that
and
one.
that one is about what is it called? There is there's a hierarchy of needs. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
Hierarchy of
Yeah.
needs. You've heard of that
Oh,
before.
I have a
So
degree in
we all have.
psychology. I've told you that, right?
That's right. I forgot though.
Maslow's
So you
hierarchy of needs.
there we go. There we go. So this book would connect with you then a lot. Fix This Next was basically it's applying that to business.
Okay. I'm writing it
And
down.
and the and there's like I think 7 or 8 stages, things you look at, and you sit there because everyone, like when you're in business, it's like, what do you focus on? What's going to have the most impact on
Right.
your business? How do you have a solid foundation? And kind of ties into the profit first thinking, like
Yeah.
the first couple stages, the first couple things that need to be there were sales, profit. If you don't have good, regular
Yeah.
sales coming in and
Can't
a
build a
good,
house on a bad foundation.
that's right. That's right. It's building that foundation, making sure you have that first, and then making sure you got profit.
Yeah.
And then there was other items in the hierarchy, and until it got to like actually the giving and giving back.
Yeah.
You can't contribute. You can't have more impact
Yeah.
on the world until you have your foundation solid. So it gives you this kind of blueprint to sit down and analyze your business in that framework, and to say, okay, I need to work on this.
Yeah.
So that's been looking at my business, my agency. That's kind of like where I care. Like we have good deal
Yeah.
flow
Yeah.
and things happening. Okay, it's the profit good. Okay, now next thing,
Yeah.
So
Well, and it's not always a line straight up either. I think sometimes people think that line is kind of like, straight up, and it can go
true.
sideways and down a little bit and back up, and Like that's business. I mean, you could have so many years where going really great, and then all of a sudden you have an off year, which I know a lot of people did last year in 2022. And so it kind of threw them off where they're like, oh, what happened? And they're
Yeah,
nervous
yeah,
about it. It's like, well, that just happens in business. It's part of it.
right, 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 right. I mean, I certainly, I had 2021 was really, really good. 2022 was okay, but it could have been better. But then you go back and analyze it. This is why it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
This particular thing happened, but this year we'll rebound from that. Hopefully, even have a better year. And yeah, it is fluid. But yeah, it's a good framework because you can bounce around that hierarchy.
Yeah.
Depending on
If you like
on the
profit
year.
first, try the Great Game of Business.
The Great Game of Business.
Yeah, I think that's the name of it. I don't know why I'm thinking it's possibly not that, but it's the same mentality, but it's like kind of turning business into a game for both you and people who work for you. So, I think a big problem that we have today is people not understanding the numbers and of business from terms of employer-employee relationship. And so it helps like kind of explain and make it like okay, it makes them understand the profit first mentality. Okay, this is why we're doing this, and then they're
Right.
actually getting part of the profit too. And so it's kind of like creating a profit sharing uh, mechanism per se,
Hmm.
but it's gamifying business so that it's easier to understand because that's really what it is.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting book.
Yeah, check that out. Well, it is a when I number one, it's something I think that's really sunk in for me, and I don't know why it hadn't before this completely. In the last year, 2 years, I've had this kind of I don't know what you want to call it, just kind of this realization that or realization or understanding of my responsibility is beyond just me now.
Mm-hmm.
That that because for years it's like you're working on yourself, right?
Yeah.
I want to find my passion. I want to build this thing, so I'm doing what I love, and I build this life, and I build this income, and then when you're building a business, and in the beginning, like I was working more solo. You can
Mm-hmm.
do that in this business, and
Yeah.
that's how I was able to keep profit first, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Because
exactly.
I didn't hire until I could.
Yeah.
But then there's a certain point where you start to get employees and stuff, and you start building relationships with employees, and start feeling like family and all this stuff, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden you're like, oh, feel a much greater responsibility
You're mentally
to make the right
responsible for
decisions
people. You're financially responsible for people. Yeah.
in a lot of different ways. But the thing is, that's the reason, if we can make this circle back to what we're talking about in the beginning, is tying things to revenue. Those decisions, like and just financial decisions, or making
Mm-hmm.
sure you have profit, making sure the hierarchy is
Yeah.
good and solid, the
Yeah.
foundation is solid, is all because you want to take care of
Yeah.
the team and the family.
So you make them part of the
Yeah,
conversation and you make sure that
yeah,
we're all on the same board. And, when we do this and we get to do this, then, you can make more money. I've always tried to run a company where it's like, okay, Jennifer's taken care of. When we're adding
yeah.
more responsibility and things like that, that's about increasing your income and tying it to, okay, if we do this, then we'll be able to pay more because we're handling this and handling that. So,
Right.
taking care of your employees is definitely important.
Yeah, yeah, that's a whole topic in and of itself, but it's something I want to see them. I love the fact that I can give them a stable income,
Mm-hmm.
and I see them, living their lives
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
doing the things, maybe working on saving money for a house or trying, all
That's,
that stuff that's happening. But also growing professionally as well,
yeah.
giving them the tools to learn and just get better at their craft.
That's
And
actually one of my
yeah,
happy places is I love training and developing people, and I love people being able to see that they're capable of more than what they think they're capable of. A lot
right,
of people set this like bar that they can only do this and then do that because somebody else in their life set that bar for them and told them they can only do that. And so when I hire people, it's like I hired you because of your potential, not because of where you're at
right.
right now. Like that to me just, gives me chills because that's what I want to do in life. And those are things that make me happy. And that provides meaning to me doing what I do is because I'm helping people get where they want to go. It's just a big part of me for sure.
You must want to like, what was it? There was a quote at least recently that or somebody said this. It's like you want to help somebody develop to a point where they could leave and go somewhere else, but they won't
Yeah.
because of that relationship you've built with them, and
I'm
they
actually
enjoy coming to
never
work.
I'm never upset though if somebody does leave because I just want people to recognize what again back to what is their happiness. What I've
Mm,
created here might not be their happiness. I have plenty of people who have worked for me before or that I've actually fired and we're still friends
mm.
because it was about helping them get to where they want to go. It wasn't about what do I need, it's about helping them. And in the turn, I've made a business out of it. And prior to this, I was managing people and I would take the same approach. People will be more willing to follow you if you take care of their needs first before you're taking care of yourself.
And there's another lesson. Like, do you follow Gary Vee at all? Are you a
Yeah, a
fan
little
of
bit.
Gary
I
Vee?
like him. Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
You don't mind the swearing?
No, I don't mind this. Actually, one of the things to hire me is I ask people, "Are you okay with me dropping the F bomb?" Because I drop it quite a bit. So I am a
Awesome.
cusser myself.
Yeah, it's right in the contract.
Yeah, it does not bother me one bit.
Yeah. No, I follow him. I probably more than almost any other guru out there. Maybe it's just because he's everywhere and I see him all the time.
He
He's always
produces
in
a
my
lot of
feed.
content.
Yeah, but one of the things he says, I've heard him say numerous times, and it really resonates with me, is the fact that how does he put it? That the employees aren't there for you. You're there for the employees. You're there to support the
Yep.
employees, to help them, get them what they need.
Yep.
You're working for them.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's a completely different switch in your
Oh
mindset.
yeah.
And it's something I try to remember every day with my team. It's like, what can I do today to make their job easier, whether that's through automations or
Yep.
just helping them have a better setup or get what they need in general. And that's I'm always trying to think of that, like,
You never
you
want to
know,
lose that. If you lose that, then you start treating people like numbers. And I think sometimes leaders and business owners, they forget what it's like to actually be on that side. And
yeah,
that's why they get there because they forget. And you get the conversations that happen with like employers versus employees is completely different. Don't forget what it's like. An employee might not ever know what it's like to be an employer, but you likely have been an employee as an employer. So you have to make sure that you understand where they're coming from.
yeah, empathy, care about,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Help enough people get what
Well,
they
great.
want, you get what you want.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a great. Who said that? That was Zig Ziglar? Was that who said
Maybe,
that?
I don't remember, but I know that's
If you help
another
enough
quote.
people get what, yeah,
You
yeah,
want or what they want, you will get what you want.
that's right. Yeah, and it's true in so many ways. So this was a great conversation, Jennifer.
Awesome.
I'm glad we came together. Got number 3 under our belts.
There you go.
So we'll have to see what we talk about in number 4. I don't know if I mentioned this early on or maybe it was pre-show. But I think that after the first show, we had created a bullet list of like 10 things we could talk about. I don't know if there's things you were just telling me. I had this like list or you sent me. I think maybe you even emailed me like, I could talk about these 10 things. So we have.
I could talk
I should
about
go find
anything, honestly. Marketing related, business related. I can talk about that stuff. Now, there's some other stuff I probably can't talk about, but those topics I could talk all day.
Well, speaking of, actually, one other thing we'll leave it at this. So we don't talk all day. But one of the things, so and this is one of the things I think it's easy for us to talk. I think we're both passionate about business and what we do and love talking about this stuff. But you also have like podcasts and you have these things you do with Lorraine Ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is something I was going to ask you today because I sometimes like to, I see you two doing things and I just saw some really cool graphics like on LinkedIn that you posted. You're just having fun with that. Yeah. It's like, but just for a couple minutes, like what is the background there? How did you guys start to do like video together or live shows or whatever you're doing together? What do you do? And then how did that all come together?
Yeah, well, so we're both in the same market. We're both in Indianapolis, so we knew of each other for sure. I'm definitely a fangirl of Lorraine, and I was for a long time. Always liked what she was doing. I think we actually started with Clubhouse way back in the day. I think that was almost 2 years ago. We were talking about that this morning, and
Wow.
we started doing shows there, and we just noticed that we get along really well, and we both like producing content, and so that we end up eventually giving up Clubhouse, and then we went to a live show. And doing that weekly, and we've worked on different aspects on that. I love it because we're both talking about marketing, and she has a perspective and I have a perspective. What's also unique is, she's got like kind of a DIY. So she owns the digital toolbox, which is, that, but I own a marketing agency. So whether or not you want it done for you or you want to do it yourself, we're bringing 2 different perspectives to the table.
Nice.
But as we've worked together, we just come up with different ways. We also both like to train, so we've both done trainings in person before. So I don't know when this will come out, but in January, at the end of January and the beginning of February, we're actually doing an in-person training together.
Oh, cool.
But if the training will actually probably eventually make it to an online format. So we're just always constantly building and trying to use different tools. And a live show every week gives us an opportunity to go out there and kind of showcase what we're talking about. So it's called the Small Biz Chat. You can go look at all my channels and you'll see me live every Friday at 9 a.m. Or Lorraine Ball, she's live too on all of her channels. So we're using both our networks, and it's a good time.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's great content. When I see it pop up, I often listen in and see what you guys are talking about. So
Awesome.
No, it's great. Yeah. Yeah, so people can find you on LinkedIn. They can find you what's
everywhere.
Elevated Marketing Solutions if you need
Elevated
an agency.
Marketing.Solutions is our website. We certainly have an Instagram, Facebook. We don't hang out on Twitter that much, but TikTok and producing a ton of content all over the place.
Great. Well, I guess we'll see you around then. See you around the web. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Until next time.
All right. Take care.
That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. If you want to comment on this episode's page, provide me with requests on topics for future episodes, or inquire about being a guest, please find your way to thebuilders.fm. You can contact me there or add a comment under these show notes. Now a word from our sponsor, my agency, Unified Web Design.
We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you're interested in our services or are looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.